Welcome back to the Haddonfield Registry. I'm your host, Slasher with an X. The date is August 12th. The time is midnight somewhere. Today we're doing something a little different. We've got some big news from the set of Crystal Lake, but that will lead us into some speculation and discussion about the show itself, which you've probably already guessed by the video's title. So first things first, it's a good fucking time to be a Friday the 13th fan. The internet is exploding with news on the upcoming Crystal Lake TV series, as Blairstown, New Jersey is being dressed up to double the fictional town of Crystal Lake, the first time since the original film in 1980. I'll be throwing up images of the set taken from various social media accounts throughout the video. Additionally, we've got our first looks at Pamela Voorhees and Crazy Ralph, played by Linda Cardellini and Nick Cordellione, respectively. As you can see, great lengths have been taken to ensure the clothing fits the time period and the characters who wear them. But the attention to detail doesn't stop there, as we've got recreations of Pamela's Jeep, the Elston oil supply truck that Enos drives, and the convenience store Annie pops in. Even Ralph's bike is recreated, though we knew about that for some time. And speaking of period accuracy, Friday the 13th franchise.com has also recently revealed that the show is set in the 70s, with the date 1971 being most prominent. And to cap it off, showrunner and writer Brad Caleb Kane shared a photo taken at Blairstown with a landmark sign that states Crystal Lake established in 1783. This has all been such an absolutely gorgeous, incredible, thoughtful production decision to connect this project back to the original in such a meaningful way, not unlike what the Halloween trilogy did. The respect the franchise has been shown from A24 and the crew of Mama's Boy has been unbelievable, and it's a welcome change of pace from all the cynicism surrounding Horror Inc. and the new Jason mask design. Now, onto the speculation. As I mentioned, it's been known for some time the project would be a period piece and wouldn't shift established dates. We know that in countless official press releases, it's been described as a prequel, a pre-remakequel, and an expanded prequel. But what we've yet to hear from any official source is the word reboot, reimagining, or even just remake by itself. Now, I also know the immediate response from fans has been to write this show off as a new start, a reboot, a standalone series, an adaptation, just anything that implies new or distinct timeline. But I'm beginning to suspect that isn't true. Think back to 2009's Friday the 13th. When the film was announced, there was a lot of discussion about how the original film's internal story was reworked, and it was explicitly said to be a reboot of the IP. The filmmakers intentionally took elements from the first 4 films and combined them, evoking the franchise's history while allowing them to reposition it to the modern day. These were all intentional decisions made to capitalize on the potential that a brand new timeline brings. Now let's look at Crystal Lake. It's not being billed as a reboot, a reimagining, or a remake. It was briefly referred to as a pre-remakequel when it was first announced under Brian Fuller's direction, but this has been largely dropped in favor of the more marketable expanded prequel. More on that in a minute. Instead of setting the show whenever they wanted, like a new timeline would allow, and like lazy producers would typically do to cut corners, they're intentionally respecting established dates. Pamela died in 1979. And Crystal Lake is set throughout the 70s leading up to this event. In the 2009 film, the only characters from the original to be brought over are Jason and his mother, Pamela, but again, the timelines differ. But even if they didn't move the years, they went out of their way to show us things we'd already seen, but with new variables, so we'd know it was a different continuity anyways. For Crystal Lake, we've got several characters from the original film returning, and noticeably, they are all characters who will appear in the original Friday the 13th as residents of the overall area, and they're being depicted during periods we've never seen covered in the films. So most everything short of seeing them die can happen and not disrupt the established timeline. All of this, dear viewer, is to say that I think Crystal Lake is being presented as a direct prequel to the original film. It's not a new timeline, it's not a remake of the first movie, it's a new entry in the original timeline. Additionally, while it hasn't been reported on by many major trades, Friday the 13th franchise.com has revealed several new cast members and characters, most notably being Claudette and Barry, the pair of campers Ms. Voorhees murders in the opening minutes of the original film. I believe this right here is what pre-remakequel could have been referring to during the show's original announcement. While I believe almost everything from Fuller's original pitch was scrapped, I also believe it was always the intention of A24 and Victor Miller for the series to specifically explore Pamela's origins as a character, to flesh her out in a way that the films never did, which would cover her backstory and the loss of her son more directly in the years leading up to the original film. And I believe part of that plan has always been to depict Pamela's murder of Claudette and Barry, which forces Camp Crystal Lake to shut down for good. It's a victory for the character and integral to who she is and why she does what she does. And if we see the double murder recreated as either the intro to Pamela's character or as a major set piece partway through the series, one could say the show is a pre-remakequel, yes? And given how much confusion there was when the show was first announced, it's not hard to see why they'd pivot to expanded prequel instead. Time will tell, but I'm going to put it out there now. I think Crystal Lake is canon to the films. The first film, at least. And I believe it's being created with that in mind. I fully believe the OG Friday the 13th is being revived with this show. And a big emphasis was made that the TV show can use anything from the films. Friday the 13th franchise.com has already reported that they've heard a fully grown, hockey-masked Jason will appear in an episode, though they couldn't say if it was an entire episode or just a small role. But the show could go on for several seasons, cycling between a modern-day adult Jason story and Pamela throughout the 70s. It would be really interesting seeing what else they bring in. Maybe references to Higgins Haven, the Jarvis family, or the Packanack Lodge. We know they're constructing the set for Pamela's house on a soundstage. Could they be recreating the Voorhees house from Jason Goes to Hell? A soundstage would conceal that spoiler. And this is coming off of the critically acclaimed Chucky series, which went to great lengths to recreate its original killer's human look, as well as the less acclaimed but equally successful Halloween Kills, which had a one-to-one recreation of the original Myers household. Anything is possible, it feels like, in the slasher subgenre these days. The big question this brings up is, if Crystal Lake is canon, will Sweet Revenge be canon? Surely not, you'd think. It's just a glorified beer commercial. But there are rumors that the same Jason design used in the short film and the merchandising is how he'll appear in the Crystal Lake series, which will no doubt lead viewers to see them all as connected. Especially in a post-Marvel, post-FNAF, post-Twitter entertainment landscape, where audiences are taught to find these connections in media. And speaking of Sweet Revenge, for those of you wondering, yes, I'll be posting my thoughts plus a breakdown of Easter eggs, references, and lore connections for the short film once it releases. So what do you think? Do you believe Crystal Lake will be canon to the original films? Or do you think the set dressing is just that, set dressing? Nothing more than really thoughtful and well-executed fan service? Let me know in the comments below. For the Haddonfield Registry, I'm your host, Slasher. Good night.